Hi loves, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So the day is here. I get to review my first ever Broadway show. I am so excited to tell you about seeing Parade on Broadway one week before it closed. We were so incredibly lucky. The universe was listening to us that day, and it was a miracle that we managed to get tickets. Really was, because it's been in high demand since we found out that Ben Platt and Micaela Diamond, along with a plethora of talented people, were going to be bringing this show back to Broadway. You know, this was like a very exciting revival that I think a lot of people have been keeping an eye on, myself very much included in that. So when I found out that I was going to see it, I did cry, and I also cried throughout the show several times. It was just breathtaking. The whole experience was just completely magical, and I got my playbill, my first ever playbill. I am absolutely buzzing. I mean, just look at them, they're so beautiful. This was honestly one of the best musicals I think I've ever seen. I can't believe I just said that, but it's so true. There is not a doubt in my mind that that is the fact of this. I also got given this little sticker set from the Broadway stand in Times Square, and we got chatting to them, and I said, yeah, we're going to try and see Parade, and it'll be my first ever show here that I've seen on Broadway. And the guy was like, oh, take one of these and you can stick one of the stickers on your first playbill as like a little keepsake. And I was like, you are literally melting my heart, thank you. Anyway, that's enough about that. We were in New York at the end of July, and the reason for that was because I was performing at the New York Poetry Festival, which was an absolutely incredible experience. I will never ever forget how amazing that day was and how welcoming the poetry community were. I also celebrated my birthday there, my 28th birthday, and one of the things that was on my bucket list was seeing a Broadway show. Now, I'd had my eye on Parade for months, literally months. It's a show that has been on my radar for like 10 years. I knew about 4 or 5 songs off by heart in the show. However, I had deliberately not listened to the rest of the soundtrack so that when I did see it, it would be like the first time of experiencing it fully. And I'm so glad that I did that. I can't believe I waited like 10 years to see this show. Bearing in mind, this show does not get revived very often, but I feel like when it does, it has to be good, you know, because it is based on a true story. And I guess that's a perfect opportunity for me to tell you a little bit about the show if you don't already know what it's about. So Parade is a musical with a book by Alfred Ury and music and lyrics by Jason Robert Brown. I'm going to be chatting about Jason Robert Brown later, so I'm not going to say any more on that, but I can guarantee that I'm going to get really like fangirly. The musical is a dramatisation of the 1913 trial and imprisonment, as well as the 1915 lynching of Jewish American Leo Frank in Georgia. So essentially, he is convicted of a crime that he did not commit, and within the musical we see his relationship with his wife Lucille Frank, and how that kind of changes over the time of him, you know, being convicted and then trying to get an appeal. I cannot go any further without mentioning how beautiful the chemistry was between Micaela Diamond and Ben Platt. Ben Platt, I know him as being one of the best musical theatre performers and vocalists of our generation. He has an incredible way of authentically putting his stamp on characters and just completely giving you the truth of that character in a beautiful, sensitive way. Like, I cannot sing his praises enough, but this was the first time I'd ever seen Micaela Diamond in anything. I just cannot tell you how wonderful her performance was. Everything from her physicality, the way she moved as Lucille, her accent, the attention to detail within it, and the way she spoke to other characters and spoke to Leo, and the feistiness, the fury that we see in moments of nuanced performance from her, it was just extraordinary. I was completely bowled over by her talent, her precision, and when she did sing, oh my god, it was stunning. I could not fault a moment of her performance, let alone the whole show. Can I just say that this show was executed with integrity, respect, and to perfection. Like, I never thought I would say that my first Broadway experience was perfect, but it was. I'm gonna cry. I'm so happy. Even just talking about it makes me happy. Of course, this is not over yet. Sung by Lucille and Leo was a real standout moment of the show, mainly because a lot of the publicity on social media has had this song involved in it. It was like the one that people were waiting for, and they did not disappoint. It was stunning. The cheers, the claps, the overall support for these performers on stage when that song ended was just colossal. I cannot describe it with words. It gave me goosebumps. Even now it gives me goosebumps to think about how amazing just being in that room at that moment felt. And I also really loved All the Time Wasted, which again, because I'd not done my research on the rest of the show that I didn't know, I had never heard that song before, and I thought that Lucille and Leo, Ben and Micaela sang it in such a relatable way. I was crying because I could see bits of myself in these characters, bits of my partner in these characters. It was so authentic, so real, so invested, and that's what I loved about these two performers and the cast in general, is how invested they were in this story. I mean, oh gosh, just stunning, breathtaking. I loved it. 5 stars. Now, I did want to mention a couple of other performers in the show. I mean, everybody was truly fantastic, but there were a couple of songs and a couple of moments where I was really like, oh my god, like, I have never seen performers perform like this. It was electric. One of those moments was Feel the Rainfall with Alex Joseph Grayson as Jim Connolly and the company of men that were singing with him. Oh my god, the vocal agility, the control, the riffs, the power behind that performance. I think I can strongly say that me and my partner Adam, who watched it, were there going, yeah, this is like guttural. And I think it comes back to the music as well. This moment had to come in this review. Jason Robert Brown wrote the music and the lyrics for this show. Unreal. That song in particular, you know, may I point out that Jason Robert Brown is a middle-aged white man, and he wrote that song, which is written for a black male from the 1910s. You know, I can't understand how that man is able to write in such a well-rounded way. He understands cultural differences, racial differences, how to move you through music, and that was ever present throughout this whole performance, and it was an absolute privilege to see his music brought to life on stage in such a way. These performers were so well cast. But yeah, that was a real standout moment. I really enjoyed Sean Allan Krill as Governor Slaton. Really good characterization of that role. It was very honest. I loved the energy between him and his wife. I thought that was really fantastic. But his character goes on quite a journey as he ends up reopening the case of Leo's you know, conviction, and he gets the correct evidence in the end because he pulls his finger out and because Lucille has had such an impact on him. With his character, we see something very sort of internal. We see that moment of him going, he won't be able to live with himself if he doesn't act upon this injustice. And I think that's a really, really lovely thing to be able to notice in somebody's portrayal of a character. You know, that subtlety, that internal dialogue that isn't being spoken but is there nonetheless. I also really, really enjoyed Paul Alexander Nolan as Hugh Dorsey. Now, he was the lawyer who was trying to prosecute Leo. I hope that's the right term to use. I'm not very good with law. But his voice, man, it was cutting. Like, when he sang, it was really quite menacing. And I was like, wow, that is a very strong and controlled vocal, which is actually making me feel quite on edge. And I just thought, again, goes back to the casting. This guy was like perfect for that role. And he eventually becomes the governor of Georgia, and we see that journey for him as well. I just feel like every single character in this show had a really like strong arc, a strong journey, and together, when we saw them acting together, singing together, oh my god, you couldn't help but be like completely moved. It was so emotive. The music, the performers, everything, it was very guttural. It was like, this is a true story and we're going to tell you the truth. And we're going to do it in such a way that is going to move you and is going to make you think about what has happened, you know, objectively. And that is what I love about, you know, theatre that is directed in such a real kind of way, is that it has the capacity to make you think objectively about what has happened, how it relates to now. You know, are we still facing issues like this? Are people still being wrongly accused of crimes they haven't committed? Oh, I'm not over it yet. Very quick, I want to just mention the choreography and how simple it was. It was very smooth in, you know, all the transitions. It didn't feel like, oh, we've got a song and dance now. It's not that kind of musical. It was done in such a way that it was subtle and nuanced, and it was rich with texture, and it just added a fantastic other layer to the performance. So yes, big fan, big fan. All that is left for me to say was exactly what I said earlier on, that this experience was just the most perfect first Broadway show experience. From the moment the show started and we heard Old Red Hills of Home, I was gone. I was invested. I completely fell in love with this cast and with this show all over again. And it was lovely to, you know, have those little moments of discovery with moments that I was less familiar with or didn't know perhaps, because, you know, I'd said to myself years ago, I was like, one day I'm going to see this show and I'm going to see an amazing cast in it, and until that point I don't want to know what the rest of the story entails. I don't want to know the rest of the songs. I want to discover it for the first time when the time is right, and the time was definitely right in New York City. I hope you enjoyed this video. I realised that there was a lot of enthusiasm from me, but this is what I love about theatre. I love talking about shows like this, because it is shows like this that made me want to be a performer. And I'm gonna cry. I cried so much when I watched this show, it was ridiculous, but it was so moving. And if any of the company, by some mad twist of fate, end up seeing this video, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for telling Leo and Lucille's story in such a compassionate way. The show was incredible. That's it for this video. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more theatre reviews. I've got loads of creative content coming, and yeah, just thank you so much for watching. I loved this video. I loved making it. I loved talking about Parade, about Jason Robert Brown, Ben Platt, Micaela, the whole cast. They were incredible. The whole creative team who worked on this show deserve as many awards as there are awards out there. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and see you all very soon.